hate to break the silence, but we're going to get started with our meeting. And our teachers are always saying how kids are always talking. They're just completely silent in here tonight.
That's the
So.
way they always are in class.
We want to open, ask Dr. Light if he'd open us in prayer. And lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
Please bow your heads. Lord, we give you the praise and the glory for this room filled with greatness, young authors, parents, very caring parents, teachers. We're here for all the right reasons, and we give you the glory, Lord, for all you provide, the time and the effort that our exceptional board puts in, trying to make it as better a district as possible. Thank you for all that you provide. Help us and guide us to hear and follow your word. In Jesus' name and the Lord's name we pray. Amen. Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on our agenda tonight is our consent items, consisting of the agenda, minutes of the February 8, 2022 meeting, fundraiser for band, 2 fundraisers for the band, and use of the school facilities, Buddy Bufford Field. Also, a policy for revision, CA philosophy. Do we have any questions on the consent items?
The car wash, where is that going to be located?
They do it in the parking lot right back
Right
here.
here?
Yes, sir. So they have access for water, and it makes it easier for the students as well.
Okay.
Second.
Second question, what UGA games are they going to be working?
To be honest, I don't know that answer. I believe that it is baseball, but I don't want to fib to you. I don't know. I'll have to ask. I got this yesterday.
Okay.
I don't see Mrs. Jordan. She may be out in the back. Dr. Gumby, is Miss Jordan in the back?
No, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Dr. Light, could you, on the rental of the facility, can you just state that we are within the dates? Because I know that has been something that's been discussed previously.
The rental of the facility, they are requesting to rent Buddy Bufford Field for a Good Friday celebration, and that date of rental would be 4/15. Now, I believe the board remembers, but I do want to remind you that the new time frame that someone could rent Buddy Bufford Field ends on 4/30. So it'll be April 30th. So it's right at the end of the deadline, but that works good for Good Friday. So it is within that time frame that we set earlier in the year.
Thanks, sir.
Any others?
Make a motion to approve the consent items.
You have a motion to approve the consent items by Mr. Heitman, second by Mr. Reese. All in favor? It's unanimous.
Thank you all.
We have no public participation, so at this time we're going to recognize our young Georgia authors.
Hello, and everyone's here. Great to see this crowd here for, I'm assuming, for the kids, not really for the me. But again, as I stated, for those in here for, after we do the presentation, you're more than welcome. We'll pause the meeting. You're more than welcome to leave or stay for the remainder of the meeting. We're going to start with elementary school and call the students up. And as we call them up, we'll take a group picture of the grade of the school. Give you time if you want to take your pictures also, and then we'll do it by grades. And then we may get them all back up to take one final group picture. We did have where the students' submissions were submitted to the CSRA RESA competition, and one of our students, which we'll announce, was able to win and be the district CSRA representative that would compete at the state competition level. So we're grateful for just you encouraging your students with their writing, and the teachers are working with them. We're proud of them being selected as the grade level winners. And so we do have that. Dr. Light's going to come up and he's going to hang the certificate as I call your name, and I'll give you your gift card, gift certificate, and then we're grateful for that. And could you scroll down for us a little bit there? With kindergarten, we have Tariq. Now, if I say a student's name wrong, please just correct me. I won't take offense to it. For kindergarten, we have Tariq Elam with this short story about rhinos. Come on up, Tariq.
Right there. Dad's going to take a picture. Mom might even take a picture.
I got it. That's you.
With first grade, we have Miss Kansas Corey and her short story, If I Were a Penguin.
There you go.
In second grade, we have Miss Ruby Smith with her short story of A Special Place.
Turn around, we gotta get a picture. Mom's gonna want a picture.
In third grade, we have Miss Kaylee Williams, Who is Your Hero and Why?
Congratulations, good job. Hold on, turn
I did select the winners. In fourth grade, we have Miss Harper Cunningham, The Misplaced Princess.
Turn around, Mom wants a picture.
And in fifth grade, Miss J.C. Poteet with her story about the show. And can we have all the elementary winners to come up for one group picture? If you parents, if you did not get a copy, I'll make a copy of their submission and give it to the students tomorrow.
We'll get right up here and get one big picture. There you go. Call her home.
Just look in the middle. In the newspaper right there. You got it?
Yeah.
All right, look right there at the top.
Say cheese. There you go. All right.
All right. Congratulations.
Thank
In sixth grade, for our middle school, we have Miss Haley Cowan. Good job. A story about a night in the temple. Go
Here you
ahead.
go. Hold on, Haley.
Don't go too far. In seventh grade, we have Miss Mackenzie Curry. Story about the day. And in eighth grade, Mr. John Hotnet, The Grave I Never Got.
Congratulations, sir. Turn around now, we've got to get a picture, you know that. There you go.
And Haley, stage, John.
John, stay up.
And Haley, come back up. And
Middle school picture.
Go back over.
Congratulations. For our high school, in ninth grade, the Black Hair Eidolon, and Mrs. Hawthorne will also represent the CSRA because she is the CSRA winner from Nigeria.
Good job, congratulations.
In 10th grade, Mr. Jonquavius Jones. Jonquavius here. 11th grade, Miss Aubrey Gruber. And in 12th grade, Miss Madison Pia. Come back up, Caitlin.
Congratulations, Ms. Madison.
All right, and the group. Again, and we will, again, I'll make a copy and give it to the students if they did not keep a copy of their submission. We thank you as you continue to be writers and continue your writing, continue to do as best you can in school. We thank you, and we'll pause so that if you want to leave, you may leave, but we're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the Board of Education meeting.
He said everybody.
I'm sorry, let's get a group picture of all the students. Thank you. All the students first, and then you can go.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams. Come on in, don't be shy.
Hey, come to the front, baby. You're not in high school. It's okay. Don't blow pop. Okay, move up.
It moved on you, go ahead.
All the parents, you have your pictures?
Got one?
Awesome,
Good.
great.
Great, thank you all. Congratulations.
Yeah, you just send the story.
They'll just submit the story to the They pick the topic.
With different grades, different parameters. I've seen it where it's been some grades that have more than
I go to show you what's more important.
That's why
We know the kids are,
That's why we're here. You get a front row seat, man.
Where have y'all been?
Been kind of letting our parents
Miss Bufford somewhere. She's still out there. They are.
Taylor coming back now.
She was visiting with Ben.
Where have y'all been?
We were letting the parents have a seat.
Nice.
Okay, next on our agenda is our financials. So who's doing it tonight?
You don't have to.
Hello, everyone.
Hello?
Ms. Duke?
Okay, so first up, we have our general fund for the revenues for up to February 2022. Currently, we are 66.66% through the fiscal year, so if you look out on the side of the right columns, anything above that is considered amazing, and then anything below that is something we need to look into. So items to really note are the actual federal impact aid, as well as the other sale of businesses. So we'll be updating that in the next amendment. 245,000 will be coming in for the impact aid, has actually already come in. And then 82,100 was for the sale of the old coaches BOE building. So we will be amending that at the next board meeting. The other items have pretty much been mentioned in the previous board meetings and will be amended as such. I will like to say one thing before I go on though. 66% through the year, and we are at 76% of revenue, so we're doing pretty great.
Well, quick, what will that sale of the coach's office go under? If they other?
Yes, it's in that sale of fixed assets is where it goes, and then it'll just go in the general fund.
Okay.
Available for the, because we were using it for the things that we had to fix up over there at the old school.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, next up we have our expenditures for the general fund. Pupil services and improvement of instructional services are over the 66%, but we've kind of stayed at that same marker since the last meeting, as well as, well, actually not improvement of instructional services. Improvement of instructional services, the 108%. At the last meeting, we were at target, but because of the stipends, we are now 40% over the 66%, and we will be updating that at the next amendment. That was approved at February 8th meeting and paid out February 28th. The next item to note is maintenance and operations. We will be amending that at the next board meeting. All those items have been approved by the board. We just now need to update that to reflect as such. But overall, 66.6% still on expenditures, so still at target for where we are currently in the fiscal year. Okay, moving on to our general fund balance sheet. We have $3.9 million in the bank and a fund equity balance of $2.99. So this is in line with normal at this time of year. So, you know, we've collected most of the revenue. So right now we're just spending what we've already collected, which is why the expenditures are higher than revenues. And then this is just a summary of what we just talked about.
Any questions for Ms. Dukes or Ms. Buffer?
He's splost.
Just on that portion of it.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay. On to the SPLOST collection proceeds. Currently, we have $611,935 collected for this fiscal year. Last year at this time, we had $537,000, and the year before that had $453,000. So definitely seeing a trend upwards. So would like to continue that this year and the next, and increase our budget as such. Oh. Okay, yes, we had 72,000 come in this month, which was a little bit less than last month. However, it is greater than what came in prior year.
And those are for the previous month, is that right?
The what?
So for example, the 83,000 of January was actually for December spending. is that right?
Correct.
Yes, sir, exactly.
Y'all have to keep it straight now. Christmas time to the world.
Yes.
Okay, next up we have our SPLOST summary. The balance is $634,250.19. And then the bond ad valorem tax is $1,031,191.67, giving us a total balance available for future bond payments and interest at $1.66 million. So definitely able to make our April 1st payment of $1.63, and that'll be paid out March 31st.
Just for correction, for 1.163, right? Am I reading that correctly?
1.163.
Okay.
Did I
Just
say
for-
1.1?
I said we at 1.63. I just want,
Oh,
just
yes.
for correction. You good?
Yes.
Thank you.
I heard it too. I just,
Okay, moving on to capital projects. Since our last board meeting, we've spent an extra $5,490 with the concession stands at football field, and leaving us with remaining of about $20,000, as well as $105,000 approximately for available for other projects. So ending balance is $125,165.47. Okay, here's our fiscal status report for the general fund. What this is summarizing is the monthly expenditures for February on the left, what's been spent year-to-date, budget, and then now we also on the left have our outstanding purchase orders. The biggest items to note here is for the student transportation. You can see that we have $102,000 in purchase orders outstanding, and this is the bus that has not come yet. Okay, special revenue funds. So this is our title, ESSER, pre-K, and school food service accounts. Once again, same format. The biggest things to note are the outstanding purchase orders to come. You can see 223,000 in the instruction. And this is cloud cameras for about 56,000, smart TVs for 149,000, and we also had a CTA tractor of 11,000 remaining in our purchase orders. So that's the biggest of what's to come. Okay. Capital projects fund. You can see that we have that 5,490 that we've already discussed as our monthly that came in February, and then nothing outstanding. And then debt service. We had other local revenue sources come in this month, $72,748.51. And we have no expenses this month. However, we will be having it at the next board meeting because we do have that April 1st due date, but we will be paying it March 31st. So you will see that next time.
Any questions on our finances?
I got one, I gotta find it, she went kinda fast.
Always somebody else.
That's right. What is this, 2,900, other support services? 210%.
On which page?
This is page, 8 on our. Go down a little bit. 2,900. That 210, yeah.
General.
Well,
You're asking for that 12,225?
I'm just curious why it's 210% is something that,
That's
Oh.
the RISA bill came in higher than we had budgeted
well,
for technical services. So we got them in the budget for that. We just didn't have a figure when we did the budget originally.
is it generally like that or not?
Well, it can be, but I guess we're using them more maybe, or maybe their prices went up and they, charged us
I
more.
think it's
I'm
been a
not
little bit
sure.
of both. We've used them more and the price did go up a little bit.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
And we were just guessing when we created
Yeah.
the budget.
We just went by
because
last
At that
year's,
point, we didn't
so
know, right?
it was more than last year's this year.
More than that,
Mhm.
210%. I'm just curious. That's all I have.
Good job, Ms. Dees.
Yeah, did real good.
Next on the agenda is school board recognition.
I think everybody is aware, but March 14th is the start of School Board Recognition Week. And each board member got a certificate and a bag from GSBA. but I want to read the proclamation that comes from the governor. It says, by the governor of the state of Georgia, a proclamation, School Board Appreciation Week, whereas our children's education is the key to our state's continued prosperity and success, whereas for Georgia and continue to grow, we must commit to providing trained students and adequate resources to all students. And whereas across Georgia, men and women serving on school boards have demonstrated a strong commitment to quality public education by securing necessary resources, promoting academic standards, and fostering partnerships within communities. And whereas Georgia's Board of Education collaborate with school systems, parents, and community leaders so the students can become educated, productive members of our state and nation. Now, whereas on this occasion, the state of Georgia commends all school board members for their dedication to the well-being of our youth. Now, therefore, I, Brian P. Kemp, Governor of the state of Georgia, do hereby proclaim the week of March 14th, 2022, a School Board Appreciation Week in Georgia. In witness thereof, I have hereto set my hand to cause the seal of the Executive Department to be afforded this 13th day of January in the year of our Lord 2022.
In fairness to Dr. Light, this is like a 6 font. I wouldn't be reading it.
I was going to pass it off to you. That is really small writing. But anyway, I wanted to not only identify that it is School Board Appreciation Week, but we are very lucky and appreciative of the board that we have that truly does care about the kids. It is not a political game in Lincoln County. It is truly about the children, and we are very blessed. And I want to thank everybody that is sitting up here because it truly is a joy to be in Lincoln County. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, we have Brianne Tankersley is going to speak to us about the middle school academic progress.
All right, so, hey everyone, I'm Brianne Tankersley. I'm our instructional interventionist at Lincoln County Middle School. I'm really excited to get a little while to talk to y'all today about what we've been doing and what we've been seeing. We've had some really great gains that I'm very excited about. But first I want to tell you a little story, and I promise that it's going somewhere. So, y'all know Tanya Burr, right? Okay, so, if you know, you know. So, I tell my teachers that are just starting out that I'm mentoring when they're questioning things. They'll say, should I do this? Should I do that? I'm just going to go ask Ms. Burke. I'm just going to go ask Ms. Burke. And I teach them this very valuable information. Whatever is more work is the answer that Ms. Burke is going to tell you to do. So whatever you're proposing, whatever's more work, she's going to say do that. Okay? And she's going to think that it's really great, and she's going to, tell you that it's going to be great. So you're going to do that. So anyways, when I saw our milestone scores for the students that were coming into the middle school and at the middle school for this calendar year, and they were 50, 60, 75% not proficient in ELA, I said, should I do something big? And of course I brought it before Tanya, and I said, I'm going to be the instructional interventionist. I know that I'm supposed to be dealing with our lowest children and helping them, and I'm going to do that, but I think we should do something school-wide. And so we did. We put a power block into place for the first 45 minutes of the day, and everyone that had gaps, meaning 50, 60, 75% of some grades, go to a remediation class during that time, primarily in reading, because reading if children can't read on grade level, it transcends all of the classes that they go to. So it's the primary concern. And then secondarily, we do have math interventions going on at that time as well. A very, very small percentage of our population doesn't have any gaps, and so they go to an acceleration during that time. But that's been my biggest undertaking. That was a lot of work, looking at the milestone scores, picking a system to use, individually testing all the students at the middle school and then going to the elementary school to test some to try to get the schedule ready. We used all of our teachers that we have on staff to run this program. And I tell you all that about Tanya because she believed in me and she believed that this would work, and we've done it, and I'm just really proud of what we're seeing. If you walk down the halls during that time in the morning, you would see teachers standing up and just delivering content and students just answering back on cue. They can answer up to 300 prompts in one 45-minute period. So it really gets their brain working and gets them going for the rest of the day. So we're really proud of that. But first, before I get into the data, I'm going to tell you a little bit of what I do on a day-to-day basis. So obviously I just told y'all I created a Power Block schedule. I teach 4 classes a day, so if you come to the school, I'm probably going to be teaching. I teach a corrective reading, so I'm right there with all the other teachers teaching it. I teach 6th grade Tier 3 study skills, 7th grade Tier 3 study skills, and 8th grade Tier 3 study skills, where we're just doing some really intensive remediation. I analyze data from multiple sources to use for various things. That's ongoing. I lead professional learning for teachers. Lots of different things that we do there. I mentor new teachers weekly, sometimes daily, and help with their lesson planning, and I assist any other teacher who needs my help. And also, I created a standardized pacing guide for 6th through 8 ELA. This makes sure that our ELA teachers are covering all their standards and also helps them to vertically align when we meet and talk about where we're at. So Power Block, we've kind of already talked about that a little bit. It is my masterpiece. So our strategy here, I've also kind of talked about that, but most intervention programs focus on the bottom students who are not performing, the lowest students, and obviously they need help too, and they're getting that Power Block, but they're also getting study skills on top of that and their regular classroom instruction, so they're getting that intensive intervention. But any student that has a gap needs intervention, and so that was my theory, and that's what we put into play with Power Block. Okay. All right, so this was the data. I just wanted to show you that I saw that I found alarming. So our upcoming 6th grade, 74% of them were not proficient when they entered 6th grade. Our upcoming 7th grade, 59% were not proficient when they were entering 7th grade. And in our 8th grade, 56% were not proficient entering 8th grade. So that was alarming to me. We've always had gaps, but with COVID, the gaps got even larger. And I just really wanted to attack that head on. So I just wanted to show you our math scores for reference. Students entering 6th grade were 69% not proficient. Students entering 7th grade were 59% not proficient, and students entering 8th grade were 56% not proficient. Students who had a deficit that was larger in math than reading, and students that only had a deficit in math were placed in math remediation Power Block first semester, and that was around 42 students. So between the 3 math teachers, they were able to do remediation for those students, and we have seen gains. So what do we use for Power Block for our reading instruction? We use corrective reading. It's a scripted direct instruction series, and I've told y'all a little bit about that, about McGraw-Hill. Our teachers had a wonderful buy-in to it because we had some professional learning that we did, but I really dug in and learned how to do it myself, and then led multiple other professional learnings on the corrective reading, and we practiced together, and we just talked about incentivizing it, and we just really got fired up about it, and our teachers, I think, really love it. And the kids love it. They really don't mind doing it in the morning. And my kids are writing narratives, like page-long narratives, every other day. They just do it. They don't mind because we give them candy and praise and everything else.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, no problem.
You've done it.
It's okay.
So I see it again here. You said that in 45 minutes they answered basically 300 questions.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, so it's scripted.
Man.
So we're reading out things, and then we click like that, we snap, and then they respond. And then we say something else, and then we click, and then they respond. It's like brain training.
Yeah.
It's very, very intensive.
Wow, that'll get you ready for the day.
Yes, and so
Yeah.
once their brain starts going that fast, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they're on.
Good.
So-
That's really good.
Yes.
Even more than fast.
It's amazing. It makes my
Yeah.
brain really turn on too, but
I bet.
So we, like I said, we used all of our teachers to teach corrective reading, and 4 different levels were being run, because reading is, you know, a scale. You can have kids that are 3 and 4 grade levels below, or you can have kids that are just 1. So we had 4 different levels of corrective reading running for each grade level during first semester. We used all of our teachers to do different remediations, but we had a lot doing corrective reading. So this is the exciting part. This is our growth. This is our growth from iReady. So I just want to tell you a little bit about iReady. iReady is a computer program that we use to assess standards mastery in math and ELA. It's very intuitive because it predicts within a close margin how well students will do on the Georgia milestones. This is what we most heavily rely on for data because of its correlation with the milestones. And it does give a Lexile, and it does assess reading, but it also assesses science coverage. So it's a really holistic picture of the student that we get from iReady, so that's why we like it so much. So if you look at the data, we have had great growth. In 6th grade, we went from 28 to 39. In 7th grade, 40% to 48%. In 8th grade, we've had 28% to 44%. And these are students that are testing on grade level. So not to mention all the other students who have grown, which I will get to. So, all right, this is what I'm most excited about. If you look at that bottom chart, you can see how the students are progressing from being 3 or more grade levels below to 2 grade levels below to 1 grade level below. You can kind of look at those, but that's not the most exciting part. The other chart is my favorite. It's going to take a little bit of explaining. So, mainly the 128, and that star is what we're looking at. But iReady is a lot like the milestones in that it creates a growth model for students. So whatever number the students test at, like say they're a 628 in 7th grade, it takes other students that it's gotten data from different districts over the years, and it compares them with their like peers. And then it averages all those kids' scores for the remainder of the year that have been collected, and it predicts how much this student will grow. So if a student reaches 100% after the first semester, that means that they have had typical growth for a student that's just like them. So it gave us this number where it averaged all of our students' growth together for all the grade levels in ELA, and we were at 128% growth, which is 28% more than the growth model anticipated that we would be able to grow in 1 semester. And to me, that's tremendous. I've never seen that. I've seen a lot of data from iReady. I've never seen that kind of result. So that I'm really excited about that. You can click. Okay, so I just threw this in for good measure. This is our SRI data, Scholastic Reading Inventory. It's a Lexile test. A Lexile test measures a student's vocabulary in context of a passage. So it's a really specific type of test. It's not holistic like the iReady, but it is important to look at, and the high school uses this, so it helps you compare us with them, and then they like to have those results to be given to them for fidelity with what they're doing. So we also had tremendous growth on that test, which shows you it's not just one thing that they're progressing on. They're showing progress in everything that they do. For math remediation, I just want to touch on that because we did have 42 students in there for first semester, and we have some more in there now. But we use ALEX. ALEX is also by McGraw-Hill. It is an adaptive computer program that gives each student a knowledge check at the beginning of the year to see where they have math gaps. It then uses brain mapping done by neuroscientists to develop an individualized path of least resistance to fill each student's math gaps. And yes, iReady does have individual learning plans that they could have worked on, but ALEX has the brain mapping. So based on what the test says that these kids know, it picks their next easiest thing to learn, and then the next easiest thing to learn. So it's never like any skin off their teeth to put in the work on it. So the kids don't mind doing it. They go in there, they work on their individual path, they get a little puzzle that fills in as they complete their units, and we have seen tremendous success, and our math teachers love this program. So if you'll click to the next slide, we'll see the mastery. So when the students took their initial knowledge check at the beginning of the year, that's their first score. Their second score is how much they have grown in their knowledge of the math that they were covering during that time. And I mean, we're seeing massive growth there. for those 42 students. So I was really, really proud of that, as well as our reading. So that is all. Any questions?
The ability with the SRI to follow students from 6th all the way through 12th as we maintain it in the high school gives us that cohort ability to follow either the individual or that entire class. And I think that's a very special point that we need to make for this, because that's always a complaint when we look at 3rd grade compared to 3rd grade 10 years ago. How well are they doing? We're going to follow the kids all the way through, and we've been talking about that for a couple of years, well, 4 years, but
Right, because you want to have the same test from the same makers, and you can measure
the same
it.
children.
Right,
Yes.
the same
How well are they
children.
progressing? Yes. And I appreciate you bringing that out, because that's extremely important.
No problem.
So is that math program only used by those 42 students, or has it been used by any other math teachers?
Our-
Any other classes?
Our tier 3 students also have it, so the students that I teach in my study skills, they also have it, and so we do it every now and then, every few weeks, we'll work on our individual learning plan, and it kind of helps them, and they like it, so. Some other students do. It is kind of pricey. Any more questions? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Next, we have our elementary school.
Okay, I normally don't do this, I talk to children, so bear with me, I like to be interactive. Piggybacking off what she said, her power block, we all have that at our school also, we call it Apple. So when I refer to that, that's the time from 8 to 8:30 every day that everybody in the building, administrators, specials teachers, paraprofessionals, all have a group of students based on what they need to either accelerate or remediate. And she also talked about iReady, and she gave you some of that background knowledge, and you'll hear that from us also, because we also use iReady for language arts and math for 1st through 5th. Okay. So when we started this, I'm very blessed with 2 administrators that let me do a lot of talking, and I was also in the position that this was not a job that I had to have. So if it was not what I wanted, I said I would walk away. And it has turned into it was a blessing to me. It really has. Brought my spirit back for teaching. I was very frustrated because those 6th grade scores came from me. Those were my 5th graders, and I knew I was sending them not ready, and it was very discouraging because there are so many gaps. So I'm very appreciative of you catching them up because COVID hit us really hard. So we started looking at all of these things. We have iReady. We have children in the building that did not know what their name started with, nor which end of the pencil to pick up. And I mean that in all honesty. He picked the pencil up and turned it to the eraser to write. COVID, we don't think about COVID hitting that, but daycares were closed, parents weren't working, and many children sat with a device in their hand. No pencils, no crayons, no cutting. So that's where we started, and then we've got the other end, 5th graders, where we have these Lexile goals, and this is from the state. For the Lexile bands that they say your college career ready when we meet these goals, and you can see that our 3rd grade goal is 520 to 820. It's a wide range, but we set our personal goal for our school to be 680 at the end of 3rd grade, so we kind of hit the middle. So we took all of this information. We have a reading curriculum, several of them. We've got sight words, and we just kind of laid it all out on Ms. Goldman's spreadsheets, and we had color coded, so we tried to dig in, where do we start? So we started with, you go to my next slide, please. Let me give you a little background knowledge. When you talk about remediating, there are 3 different ways you can do that. You can pull the children out. So you go to Dr. Light's class and you say, I need your 6 lowest children, I'm going to work with them for 30 minutes, and then you move on to the next grade. That is an effective method, but it only helps 6 children. You can go to the push-in, which we've done all of these. So I would go in with Mr. Williams, he would run a teacher group, I would run a teacher group, we'd have an independent group, and we would rotate. We call that round robin. So now every child's getting 2 teachers. And then we can have the cross group, whereas I go to Mr. Williams and I say, I want all of your students from 500 to 800 Lexile. You take all 500 below. We'll split them for the hour, and I'm responsible for every standard. You're responsible, and you have to have a lot of trust with your teachers. So that's kind of where we were going. My least favorite is the pull-out, because my passion is the average and above children. I love my special needs children, but I really feel like those children right on the edge are going to change the world, and I feel like they get left behind. So that was my passion, to really find a way to get our students right on the edge that just needed that push over to be successful. So we started in kindergarten. That was like, I'm telling you, the kindergarten's eyes, the teacher's eyes were bulging out of their head. They knew nothing. They didn't know a child looked at F and said Facebook. Not even letter F. I mean, that's where we're starting. We're like, oh my gosh, we've got, I think that's right at 90 kindergartners. We have 4 kindergarten teachers. How can we help? So, Mr. Williams, go to the next one. So we have myself, Miss Goolsby, who is another interventionist, and then Miss Beth Beggs is paid with title money that works for part of the day. We took those 90 children and we split them 7 ways. So now you've got a top 14 with our kindergarten teacher and the lower 11 with me. Same with all the way across the board. So for 2 hours every day, you had children that were ready for kindergarten in their kindergarten room and children that were behind with me, Miss Goolsby, or Miss Beggs. And we did that for 14 weeks, and that's considered cross-grouping because we divided and conquered. And go ahead. And that kind of just tells you what we did. Miss Arthur always says that the most research-based strategy is a teacher. And that's kind of, we did reading mastery, but you've got, we went very slow. We repeated lessons, where if you have your own level, they skipped lessons. Down the hall, it took a lot of getting used to because a kindergarten teacher had half of their class writing sentences and we were still writing our name. But letting go of the fact that they didn't have to teach that, they saw so much success. We had 11 students, so every day they had time to say, can you spell your name? Can you say your phone number? Things that you don't have time to do when you have 22 students. So if you look at those results, and I do like to use, I like percentages, but these students are people to me. And so those 4 not meeting their goal, they have a name attached to me, so that's why I usually just use numbers. They went from 39 students not meeting a letter goal to now we have 4. And I'd also like to mention that that goal changes. So every 9 weeks the goal is growing. So that means there's only 4 students in our building right now, and that's probably, we did testing this week. Mr. Williams maybe turned this in early. I wanted it to be 0 because I think that's what it is now, but I think all kindergartners know all of their letters, upper and lower. All but 4 know the sounds, and yes, there are more than 26 sounds. And there were 62 that didn't know their sounds, and then we had 21 students that exited at EIP, which means that after that 14 weeks, I collapsed that class, and now they're back with their kindergarten teachers and just 2 extra classes. And that also, I've taught 5th grade, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade for about 13 years. Everybody should go teach kindergarten, right, Dr. Light? You come to lunch. Everybody should go teach kindergarten. I wore leggings under my dress because I felt like a monkey because I had to touch every student all the time because they could not pay attention. And that is another COVID. I don't know if you realize this, maybe with your own children, children's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter, so we're constantly having to move. All right, 1st grade. 1st grade kind of rocks on. They didn't need us at first. During that 14 weeks we're working with kindergarten, 1st grade is the grade where they put their letters and sounds together, they start making words, and from beginning of the year to Christmas, they kind of rock on. Teachers doing their thing, they grow. And then about Christmas, you can kind of see we're leaving some children behind. You know, they're not grasping it like they should. So for 1st grade, we left them alone. Like what we say, we didn't bother them. They do their own cross grouping. So we've got 4 1st grade teachers, and they say, I've got student A, B, and C reading on level J. I need you to teach them for 30 minutes. I'll take your letter I. I'll teach them for 30 minutes. So they're really good about cross grouping. So now we use the pull-out method. So I have 11 1st graders that come to me, and they were not necessarily tiered. They're just the ones that their teacher is a little bit worried about. Like, I might have to call their parent. They might need to be tiered, you know, they're babies, you know, so we're really worried about them. They're coming to me to get direct phonics instruction. We do a lot of phonemic awareness, phonics, decoding, and we went from 35 students not meeting their reading goal to only 15 now, and I actually think that's down to 10 today. And that goal is again growing. So right now they need to be on letter H by report card, and then they'll need to be on J by the end of the year, so it's continuing to grow. All right, here's our iReady data. I'm most proud of that green. We only had 5 children on grade level at the beginning of 1st grade, according to iReady. And at Christmas, we have over 30 on grade level or above. And the red, of course, got smaller. The red's going to get smaller in everything because children come to school, they're going to learn. Research shows that about half the students, no matter who their teacher is or what they're doing, they're going to grow. And we really have to focus on the other half that, you know, you've got to be specific about what you teach them. All right. So that's kindergarten, first grade. I think we skipped a slide, but we'll go back. All right, second grade is also 4 classrooms. Normally, you would have a second grade teacher with about 20 students. They rotate around the room, 3 20-minute groups, depending on their reading level, and then you've got 8-year-olds sitting 2/3 of their hour reading block independently. And what we realize is 7 and 8-year-olds can't be independent. They either do it wrong, which is really hard to undo, or they do nothing. So we've narrowed that down, and now they only spend about 1/3, if not that much, by themselves, and we usually use our Ready since it's individualized. So now I go get the top 6 and 8 students from 2 teachers, and they're left with 8 apiece. So I have 14 students that are already reading on grade level, and I push them, and the teacher with the 8 get their basically intervention, I guess. And then, so now, instead of getting a 20-minute group, they get about a 35-minute group every day. And then our second grade data, the green really jumped, and we don't have anybody that is 2 grade levels behind anymore. And third grade is my passion. That's where I started teaching. It's my favorite grade to teach. It's also the hardest grade because you switch from learning to read to reading to learn. So we looked at this iReady data, and like she said, it was like alarming that our third graders could not segment or put together multisyllabic words. And then we started thinking, and my child happens to be in third grade. The end of first grade was when school shut down. So they did not have a chance. That's when you start reading at the end of first grade. Second grade was a lot of virtual, a lot of in and out. And so they get to third grade, and we saw a huge gap in phonics. So all of our third grade teachers for 12 weeks focused just on phonics during our Apple time. And then at the Christmas, we only had 8 students still needing phonics remediation. And phonics, I know y'all think like cat, that's phonics, but you've got to think about like putting words in, taking syllables out, changing the syllable, 3 and 4 syllable words. So phonics goes beyond just like baby stuff. So this is my favorite method that we're using. We are cross grouping. We take all 80, right at 80 students, and for 1 whole hour, they sit at a teacher table with no more than 10 students for the whole hour. Me, our 2 third grade teachers, and Miss Goolsby. We share those students. So I have a room of 8 students reading all on the same level. Miss Goolsby has a room of 9 students reading all on the same level, and we try to divide and conquer. I did use percentages on this just because that Lexile band. We had 33 students reading below Lexile at the beginning of the year. We only have 18 now below the Lexile band, and we have 18 students that have surpassed that 820, which is really what our 5th grade goal is for our school. So our top read, so it worked. The focusing on not just the low, which was one of my goals. And you can see that green, how many students. 46 is over half of the grade. I think there's only 81 or 2 students in 3rd grade. So half the grade is already ready, and that was in December. So we'll do it again. So when we let go of kindergarten, we were looking at data, and these numbers alarmed us because our 4th graders, that green only grew by 6 students, and that's not really enough. There are more than 6 students that should have been bumped up. So we looked at it, and we're like, we need to do something for our top 4th grade students. They're not motivated. iReady's not really working for them. They're not seeing the growth. So we came up with another plan. Now we do kind of a pull-out method. I take 23 of the top readers in 4th grade, and that leaves their teacher with only 9 apiece for an hour. So they get the 9 lowest, I get the 23 highest, and I think it's working. They're the 23 ones, I'm trying to challenge them. We're reading upper level books, novels, trying to find their love of reading again. So hopefully I know we're seeing growth in daily classwork, but we haven't taken the iReady again to see that. And then we also use our gear teacher, which used to be called Gifted, Miss Williams, and she pulls groups from 5th grade because it's not enough time of the day to get 5th grade also. And then there was a slide that had here's our 5th grade data, even without any special intervention. They do all their intervention during Apple, and you can see the growth. There was my schedule on there, but we'll get back. So my final remarks, I've already said that this brought my light back, and I'm very thankful for being chosen for this job. I see 93 students every day. And when our whole school, at the beginning of the year, there were 85 students in our building that were 2 or more grade levels behind, and that has been cut in half to 46. There were 99 students at or above grade level, and that has almost doubled. We have 180 students in our building reading at or above grade level. I'm very proud of everything we're doing, and I say that this is not me, this is this position. Having an extra person is better than anything that you can do. We love our new smart TVs, we love all of that stuff, but having an extra person that you can actually see a child touch their words and reads is something very powerful. So I think this job is very important, and the way that it's been very innovative, because come next week I think my job's going to change again. I'm going to get some different groups. So it's very flexible. We constantly look at data. There was one slide on my schedule, because if people always say, what do you do all day? So I wanted to show you what I did all day.
She comes to the office and
Yeah.
bonbons.
We won't see that slide.
I know you do. Don't? Oh, I bet you I added it. And then you just don't have to update it. It's okay. It's okay. It just tells
You
my
can email
schedule.
it to us.
Yeah, you can see like it's 30 minutes with how many students, 30 minutes, 30 minutes. It's really fine. I'm just kidding. Miss Goldman told me to add it, so it's good. Any questions?
Got one. You mentioned earlier about devices, I think. Do they actually help reading, or do you think it hurts reading overall from elementary school?
I think it depends on how it's used. I think it is very important. We can't take them away, because that's the world we live in. Like today, there's a child that is being screened for dyslexia. So she had a writing assignment and she did voice to speech, and her vocabulary is wonderful, but if she would have had to type it, she wouldn't have written that. So then in that case, it's very beneficial. iReady is very beneficial, but everything is good in moderation. Nothing can replace a book and a person reading a book with you,
So
in my opinion.
So they're actually reading the book?
Oh yeah, when they're in my room, there's no computers in my room, except that 23, group of 23. Gotta have a little break, I gotta give them independent time, because they're not on the same level. No, they're reading, we have Fontes Epinel books that we're reading, they read decodable text that we print, meaning that every word can be sounded out, there's nothing in there that they shouldn't have been taught, and then they have novels. So, and classics. We're just trying to get back to that. Oh, there's my daily schedule, yeah. Really, the only time they're using the computer is either to produce something from their learning or to do iReady. But with a teacher, they're reading a book.
Does the elementary school still do the AR program, the
We
points
do
for reading
not.
and stuff?
We do not. Research going back the other way, that children are not motivated by a reading counts program. So every teacher just does their own incentive. Like they'll do, you know.
I know 4 boys that motivated.
I know. And I know one child that it didn't. But I think it's personal preference. But for right now, the research says it's not motivational. But Ms. Thurman, our media specialist, there's always some kind of incentive to read. Any other questions?
I think one thing you left out of having this additional person or this additional help is a great help, but on top of that, great teachers makes a world of difference. And you kind of left that piece out.
Well, it's not, that's what I told Ms. Phillips today. She came and said, 5 children passed their level today, and it's children that have been coming to me and Ms. Goolsby. I was like, no, it's not me, it's not her, it's us. And I think that's a big part, because she got to spend more time. And some of these children get double dipped, that's what we call it, when they get the teacher group and me or Ms. Goolsby. And that's really the ones that, especially that first grade group. Yes, it is. We have a building full of good teachers.
We do, and we're very
We really
blessed
do.
that way. We need to not only compliment them, but applaud them, because they work their self to death trying to get them to pass, and we appreciate it, and it is a great benefit for us. Keeping them in school helps too.
Yes, being in school is, yes,
Yes.
the best thing ever.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good
Thank
job.
you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Next, we have federal programs budget review. Mr. Mr. Michael Williams and Dr. Gummy.
All right, good evening.
Lou.
I think you have the PowerPoint as well. So, purpose of Title I, Part A, I won't read it to you. I'm a word person, so I'll just point out some words that are in there that are important. The first word is supplemental. So, of course, federal programs are saying you have your state and local funds, and we're just supplementing that. So we shouldn't be using the federal funds before we use the state and local funds, so supplement. Another word is support. Supporting our educators to do what? To make sure that our kids are learning at high levels. And who is this program targeted for? It's for the economically and educationally disadvantaged. So Title I funds, those are the purposes for that particular group. What's key also is, I heard a couple of months ago that a lot of people didn't take the census, didn't do the census. But if they don't do that, then that's how we get our money. And so when they don't do it here in Lincoln County, then our monies are cut short. So we have to make sure we encourage people to take the census, because that is real key on the amount of monies we receive. All right, how do we spend this money? Title I. These are the activities we spend it on, remediation, and I'll go into those when we get to the money next page. All right, so this, we receive about $432,186 this year in Title I funds. Remediation, we pay for after school, during school, and some before school for teachers coming in and providing the remediation to our students. We're very fortunate that we have 2 retired teachers, one at the elementary and one at the middle, who comes in 2 or 3 hours a day to help support the teachers in instructing those students. So they do pull-outs and pull-ins as well. So we're appreciative of those funds for that program. Software licenses, you've heard from the instructional coaches. We purchased iExcel, iReady, and I forgot the program you guys used in the morning. Alex, I think you bought Alex this year, but I'll probably pick it up next year with the funds. But the one that you do 45 minutes. Corrective reading. I think we purchased that. So those programs come out of title funds that help support our kids and support the instruction. Supplies. Supplies could be anything from manipulatives that the kids use, calculators, workbooks, and novels. Director's expense, part of my salary is taken out of Title I, so the federal government pays a portion of my salary. It also pays for my travel and conference registration fees. Stipends, we're always looking, Mr. Williams and I, he's going to talk about Title II. We're always finding ways to help strengthen our professional staff here by sending them to workshops, or they can just work in their rooms and prepare lesson plans, create the curriculum maps and the pacing guides. So of course they're all busy all during the day working with children, so we want to be able to provide some set aside time outside of the work to pay them to get this done. So that's Title I, Part A funds and expenditure. Any questions? Mr. Williams is going to do Title.
Keep going while you're up, then I go back.
Okay, it's up to you. All right. Well, all right. Mr. Williams is over Title II and Title IV. I'm Title I and Title V. So skip a few slides to Title V. Title V is for rural districts. And of course, you know, rural districts, sometimes we have barriers being small, and sometimes we have barriers for lack of resources that the bigger districts have. So big words in that is more effectively improving the quality of instruction. So these funds help us improve our instruction. Last week, about 7 or 8, 9 of us had mindset training. Mindset training, and most people think of mindset training as a physical restraint program, but it's not. It is really about de-escalation. It is about being consistent in our dealing with kids every day, and it's a proactive approach. But at the end of the day, if that doesn't work, then we do have to restrain those kids. And so we have a method of doing that. And so we were trained last week, and Title V, Part B funds paid for that. We also, again, same as Title I, pay for stipends and software programs and supplies. All right, and that was the breakdown. Do you have any questions about how we spend that money? Okay. Special ed. All right. Purpose of special ed funds is to provide necessary infrastructure and supports for who? The leaders, teachers, and our families in our district. And we want to meet the whole child needs. And we know our children have, again, they may have academic deficits, emotional deficits, and so we try to look at the whole child and not just one particular phase of it. And we just want to make sure that student outcomes in our climate increase for these kids and their families. Okay. To break down, special ed funds pay for 8 1/3 parapros. So you see about $230,000 we're paying, special ed is paying for the paras in our district. Transportation services, we provide transportation to our kids that go to Sand Hills, G-Nets, and Thompson. So we pay for the bus driver and the monitor for that. And we also pay G-Nets for hosting that program for us. We have about 6 students that are currently going to G-Nets. So costing us the transportation and G-Nets about $44,000. 6 students. 6, and these students are students who they were in our schools, but for whatever reason they could not function in our school. So they had to go to a separate school with small groups. Okay. Preschool disabilities. This is a separate grant that we pay 1/10 of our teacher in our self-contained class at the elementary school. The teacher with some of our severe students, severe special ed students. We have another pot of money. IDEA, ages 3 to 5. Again, this grant pays for an additional 1 2/3 parapros. So the other grant paid for 8 1/3. This grant pays for 1 2/3. So our parapros are pretty much covered with our title and special ed grants.
Dr. Gumby?
Yes.
Those grants have to be, we have to reapply for those each year, right?
Yes. And I think you approve them in what month? You approve the budget?
It just depends, it's usually about, August.
Okay, yeah.
Finalized.
Yeah. So you guys will approve it, and then they'll send carryover. If we didn't spend it and we're within that limit, then they'll give us that money back to spend for the next year. All right, and the last one. So we won't see this one again. This is ARP, the American Recovery Program. So for this year, we were able to pay for 2 paras out of this grant, $53,000. So that was good for this year. And so next year we would have to absorb that in another budget. Any questions?
I am gonna have a question. What's the grand total with yours and Mr. Williams? Federal money, just, I know I see it every month, but. Ms. Dukes?
I'll defer.
It includes.
That's got service in that.
I know.
Okay. We'll get you a total.
We'll have to look it up.
Just curious.
All right, I'm Title II. We're grateful for these funds. They help us support a lot of activities that otherwise we would have to pay out of the general budget or just would not have. So the Title II for purposes to provide low-income minority students with greater access to effective teachers, principals, and school leaders, improve student achievement, and it's really about improving the teachers. You provide through local funds, local professional development, probably around $10,000 or so. Well, probably less than that, probably about $3,000 to $4,000 in local funds are used for professional development. But there are some additional funds, and locally you pay for things that Title II cannot pay for, or Title V and Title VI and different programs. So allowing this money, the $61,000 that I got this year, pays for our new teacher orientation, our summer professional development, dues and fees for teacher endorsements. That's with CSR ERISA. We're sending teachers to get coaching endorsement, gifting endorsement, and Georgia TAP. So any of our teachers, if we hire the teachers that don't have certification and we want them to, they're qualified but they don't have the certification yet, we can pay for them to go and get their TAP certification or they can choose and go get a master's of art in teaching, and they have to pay for that because it gives them an increase in salary. So if a teacher decides, we have two that graduated in December, and we have a teacher in this program also to earn that certification. Because as long as they have a bachelor's degree, we can hire someone as a teacher, but they have to get the certification. So out of that $61,000 that I have this year, $631 has been allocated for recruitment. This Saturday went down to CSRA teacher recruitment fair that pays for the travel, the gas, any registration fees. We allocate $9 for subs, $1,050 for administrator costs, travel $3,000, dues and fees $11,000, and stipends $43,383. So those stipends, as Dr. Gumby alluded to, after school, they have to be outside of contracted hours. We provide a stipend so that teachers will be, we could say willing or more inclined, because we can't require them to come in the summer, but this is the incentive to get them to come in the summer. So we do use this to provide stipends when teachers are doing professional development outside of their contract hours, such as last Saturday, 34 teachers Saturday getting CPR training. We provide the stipend for that and for the instructors, but I pay for that out of Title IV. So Title II is used, and we can use it for various things, but it's to improve the teacher, improve the administrators and leaders in our schools. So it pays for primarily the professional development of our teachers, so that they can be more effective. Title IV, anything on Title II? We get to me later.
Kinda quick, yeah, I'm thinking about it.
Okay, get to me later. All right. Title IV. Title IV has three areas of focus: well-rounded education, safe and healthy students, effective use of technology. Because we receive less than $30,000, there are certain weights I must use. If we receive $30,000, I will have to use at least $20,000 in effective use of technology. However, there's some limitations with a lot of these things. I mean, you get a grant, you like, I wish I could just spend it on this. There's limitations such as, Dr. Gumby alluded to it, we cannot supplant, so that even though I got $30,000, I can't just go buy Chromebooks because we are already using another pot of money to buy Chromebooks. So we have to be within the rules, so it does limit some of the things that we're able to offer. But we're able to offer virtual tutoring with the elementary students. So we're able to pay a stipend for the elementary teachers to offer virtual tutoring. Title I is paying for middle school and high school tutoring that the teachers are having. Also for the CPR training, Title IV paid for that. The stipends, licenses, Screencastify, Generation Genius, that pays for those licenses, and it funds activities in our PBIS, some of the initiatives such as we have 5, including Dr. Wolski in Savannah for PBIS, National Youth Advocates and Resilient Conference. So we pay for that with Title IV funds. And as you can see the breakdown, 42% of that is allocated for the virtual tutoring, district licenses, and different things of travel. And Title IV, unlike the other grants, this started beginning last year, if you have to use it or lose it. So if it's not spent by September 30th of 2022, that money will not be given for me to use another year. So I have to spend all $25,221, and we were able to spend all of our funds last year, and we try to budget so that we're not just randomly just trying to find something to spend at the end of the year just so we can spend the money. So that's 2 of the programs, federal funds that I control. Just a little quick breakdown of it. If you have any questions, yes, sir.
So the virtual tutoring is times that are set up between the teacher and the parent?
Teacher and
or
student. After school.
But it's mostly elementary, is that correct?
I'm paying for just the elementary. The middle school and high school, theirs is not. Theirs is the one they get a stipend for is come out to school and stand.
So does this work in conjunction with Ms. Sanford's, where you have the the students that will be needing this tutoring, or is this if a parent who makes that choice?
2 years ago we set it up open where they came to the cafeteria.
Okay.
This year we set it up between the teacher and they're able to work with the students outside with a Google Meet, a Google Classroom. And it's one of, we kind of been battling with that, because one of those things of, I can't require you after 3:30 to have some tutoring, but we encourage our teachers to set up, because some set up 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Which
So-
is tough.
Some teachers enjoy it because it's better for the student and the parent, and because of transportation. So we're trying to pilot the virtual tutoring with the elementary and see how it goes. Unlike high school students, probably get a chance to walk or get a ride. A little harder to get a kindergarten and make sure their ride is there. So this is our first year of trying the virtual tutoring. We just started in January. So we're trying to see how it's going to work, and maybe we can continue to do it district-wide, in addition to those who stay at the school or before school and work with, which Dr. government is paying for with Title I funds.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
Do you have principals asking for money to do other things that you have to say no to? I'm just asking.
Yes, we have this discussion all the time. So I have to bring out, I have to get the notebook and show them in the handbook where Ms. Arthur, we laugh, we cannot pay for equipment, playground equipment, can't pay for a parking lot. What else we can't pay for? We can't pay to, like Maru's. So I can't just, it's not me approving it.
Right.
I write it up as long as it meet our objectives, which in our CNA. So if we say that our focus is math and ELA in our CNA meetings, I can't say we want to spend our money on the agriculture department, because that's not a need. So we are restricted by what does the data say our needs for the district. So it's not just free and you choose what you want. It's based on what our plan is and what our needs are, and then we have to allocate money to meet those needs that also meet the state requirements. And once we send it all, I put it in, Dr. Light looks at it, sends it off to the state, then they review it, and then sometimes it's a back and forth battle of you're going back and forth 2 weeks. You send it, they deny, reject it, make a revision. So yeah, there are certain things like, and it says like with Title IV, even though they say you can spend on anything you want, it specifically says I can't spend on playground equipment, which is, Ms. Zaycock asked the question, she asked the question. So there are things that, even though it does may be about safety, and it may be about safety and healthy, or giving students a well-rounded education, I can't particularly spend it on certain things.
All right, so where are you going with this? But you did say something. You said state. I thought this was federal money.
But the state control, they give it to the state, and then the state the one who.
The state is the one that dictates whether it meets the federal requirements or not. So you
Okay.
have to get Charmaine Simmons to approve
So
it.
everybody,
Not that I know what we're
everybody
talking
has to stand.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so my ultimate question is, let's say we get $1 million. If we change our CNA plan where we can get $2 million, is that a?
A lot of it's based on your student population.
Right.
Okay, that's why I was going to ask.
Which goes back to what Dr. Gumby was talking about with the census.
Yeah.
And you understand now a little bit better how the CNA ties into this, because it provides a direction, and you went through that CNA process. I know that Ms. Barksdale's been through it. As you go through that process, you start identifying what you think is a need. From that, that's how we generate funds to meet that need.
And also your millage rate compared to your tax base compared to other districts. So they kind of give proportional, which had to go 4 days of classes on that to figure all that out. The formula which how they determine who gets what part of the federal funds.
Are we at the top?
No, we're in the middle.
No, I mean, are we getting the most that we can get? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Well, it's not really, this is not, I think you asked that again. This is not really a apply type deal and we gonna get more because we apply. It's not those type of grants where you apply and then they say, oh, we'll give it to you. It's kind of allocated out throughout.
And it's based on population
Yeah.
and based on the census and those pieces all coming together. And the
I'm just
CNA.
trying to see if there's some more money.
I'm with you.
Yeah, so these are not, when we say grant, it's
Yeah,
not
okay.
that type of grant.
Right.
I apply and I can get another $500,000.
Right.
Not that.
No, I understand if we put something new in place, for example, those 3 teacher positions that we have, if we can have them permanent, because we see there is a need and there's a good results from that. That's what I'm saying.
Title II could pay for it, but the problem is, I think the most we've gotten, maybe $70,000. That's not paying for.
Well, that's what I'm,
3,
my question
yeah,
is,
yeah,
that's my
yeah,
whole question
yeah,
right there.
Yeah,
We have a need, and it's a lot more than 70,000.
yes.
So how can we get there? Just asking.
Oh, I'm not gonna tell you to raise taxes. I'm not gonna tell you to raise the millage rate.
We just want a little more piece of the pie out of the left, you know? That's all I was asking. So I really, we don't know, do we?
Well, at this point, there isn't a way for us to do that.
Okay.
Because they allocate it, again, based on population of students and your census and what we are allocated for.
Well, our population is growing.
It is.
Lincoln County.
That's a great sign.
Yeah. Okay.
But then there's something, what was I asked you about, because we got an email that came from the state that talked about certain schools that got some type of grant or something, and,
There are different grants that you can apply for, and some of the specificity of what you can apply for within those grants. The most recent one that I found that I think you were talking about was focusing on virtual learning. And that virtual learning you could apply for and get additional technology for virtual learning. That's not something we want to apply for because we're not going in that direction. We know it doesn't work well in Lincoln County. So we're trying to avoid that as a whole. And that's the most recent grant that I read that we didn't apply for. Now, there's some grants that we have applied for and received, such as some STEM grants. Georgia Power has STEM grants, and we use that STEM grant money over at the elementary school for some robotic items in the gifted lab. We had a CTAE grant that we received a sawmill, and some of the tractor price came out of this other CTAE grant. Now, there's many grants that I send to the principals that they can pass along to the teachers that they can apply for, either $1,000, $5,000, somewhere in that range for an individual teacher want. So let's say that Mrs. Sandifer wants new robotics in her room.
I did get one this year.
See there? Those kind of things help, and it's a small enough grant that it's not brought here, but it's a big enough grant that she's willing to apply for it because she knows exactly what she wants. And she doesn't have to beg Mrs. Arthur to try and get it for her. So she can just go apply for that grant. And those kind of things I send to the principals every time I get them, because it's a great help to boost that one little item they want. And then the rural technology grant's the next thing on here that I just talked about. So.
do we have any other questions for Dr. Gumner and Mr. Williams? All right, thank you all very much.
Now we have they keep changing the name on us, but the ESSER grant, which we have heard called CARES grant, we've heard called a lot of other things. But this is the CARES 1, 2, and 3 money that we had brought to you and the board had approved, but we want to provide an update so that you know where we stand. Everybody, I think in here understands that CARES, they called it CARES 1 way back then. That money is spent and gone. That was the money that we spent on the 3.75 fine arts teachers because they took that away from us. We turned around and supplemented it with the CARES money as we were directed by our attorney, and it worked out very well, and we were able to keep those teachers without a question. CARES 2, we were to use for some items for COVID. We can use it for supplies for COVID. We can use it for HVAC and a lot of other items. That was a great help to us and less strings attached than ESSER 3. ESSER 3 has a ton of strings attached, and you have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to get that money. Now, the ESSER 2 money is not totally spent, and I'm going to let Ms. Buffer jump in here and help me out on the end. We originally were allotted, I'm not received, allotted 1.110 was the original budget on ESSER 2. We have
we have remaining $412,664. Some of that is HVAC units that we're waiting to receive. And of course, we have the fine arts teachers in there as well. So Ms. Bufford, you want to jump in here? And
Right. Well, the main thing I just wanted to go over, original budget versus adjusted budget. We tried to fine tune some of these things. So of course, the FY21 year has been closed, and so those we've adjusted to the actual amounts that we spent. Some of the things were a little over, some were under. We moved, if you look at the HVAC, it looks like we really didn't buy those, but we just moved that down to 22. So you got 90,188 in 21, 269,898 in 22. So the money is still there, actually a little bit more allocated to those HVAC units. The PP&E, we found that we're not using as much of that in 22, so we dropped that price down to match the 21 price, our budget. The new school nutrition has got a separate grant for their excess costs this year, so we're not going to be needing that. And the Chromebooks cost a little bit less than we thought they were going to. So we still got the fine arts teachers in there. Those will be paid out, that balance through the end of 22. So we've still got, like Dr. Light said, our PPE and disinfectant supplies, and the remainder of that in HVAC units. So we received $321,047 in the 21 year. There was a slight difference in the expenditures and the receipts, but we received that in 22. This year so far, we've received $353,166. So we've got about $674,000 that we have received. We still got, it's generally 1 month behind because we have to spend the money and then request the reimbursement. So there's a slight difference between what we received and what we spent to date. But that is kind of how we're sitting with the ESSER 2 money.
And when do we anticipate the HVAC coming in? Is it-
unfortunately, they're being built. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think they're on order,
Yes.
but everything is just slow right now,
Yeah.
so we don't know
They're
for
all being
sure.
built.
So do we have a deadline of when this money can be spent?
Well, technically, it's through September of 22, but then you have a 1-year extension after that, so we've actually got to September of 23.
Are they giving us a date for expected delivery?
Not at this point, no. But
We can't pay for them and just wait on them to come in, right?
Well, technically, you're not supposed to pay for them until you take possession, so.
About 90%.
They may change it and extend it if everybody has this problem, so
And I
we'll
think
see.
things getting delivered is a universal thing. It's not like you
Yeah, it's not just Lincoln County, so.
Right. Yep.
So we will see. So that is the ESSER 2. We just wanted to make sure you knew how we were changing the budget, adjusting that. And that, I believe that one has already been approved by the state, so that's
Yes.
already approved as is. And that'll be going into the amended budget when we present it. The next part of the presentation is the ESSER 3, which is the ARP money. The total actually changed from the original amount that they had told us slightly, not an awful lot. We had $2,494,100, where they adjusted that to $2,495,896. So just a slight reallocation in some of the monies. And we did the same thing with this. We had the original budget, how we had projected we might spend it, and how we think it's now going to be happening with the adjusted budget. So we've added in, we had to adjust for like the elementary school gym floor cost more. The media center at the high school was not specifically listed. We listed that. The elementary school hall flooring costs more, and well, let me go back to the gym. The gym floor costs more because of the moisture mitigation, where we ran into a problem with that. With the elementary school halls, I think that was the asbestos that we had to deal with on that. So that one went up a little bit, but those should be actual costs that are complete. Those projects are complete now. We allocated money for, in the original grant with corrective reading, accelerated reader, and then I think some of the district, maybe that was the high school that did the Read 180. So we reallocated a little on the purchase of the computer programs. The smart TVs were a little bit over what we thought, so we added that. And then we added the cloud cameras across the district. And those are, it's my understanding, those are for the classrooms where it helps with the COVID. If you have a transmission problem, you can see exactly who the child is sitting next to all day long. So
Contact
that's,
tracing, yes.
for that. So we added those in for this year. And those again are on order but not received at this point. And you can see the smart TVs, again, we added some to that budget for '23. Reduced the PPE and maintenance there, and then because of all the increases, we took out the fine arts teachers in the '23 year, so we need to be picking those up in the general fund, which shouldn't be a problem if they give us back our austerity adjustment or formula adjustment, which they're saying they will, so that should help cover most of that. So you can see in '21, we had very little spent, 99,000. In '22 to date, we spent 495,000, so that we still have the 1.8 million of the ESSER 3 money. And again, that will be approved by the state, and then we'll also have it in our amended budget when we present it to the board.
Most of the stuff in fiscal year '22 you expect to be spent this kind of, I mean, in
Yes,
'22?
yeah, we're hoping that as much of
Everything
that
above
as
it.
possible will be
Well,
budgeted in it will be spent in '22 what we budgeted in '22, yeah. Our only problem is shipping on these, technology type things. Any questions or discussion about either one of the?
I just wanted to provide a reasonable summary of what's going on. I know we talked about this at the beginning of the year, but that's a pretty good distance, so I wanted to provide a summary so you guys had a clue, A, where it was, and B, what some of the struggles are to try and receive it or to spend it. So just providing an update, that's all we're trying to do.
When it says 20% must be spent on instruction, is that anything that helps with instruction?
Yes.
That's not just an individual, correct?
Right, no, that's
That's
just anything
anything,
that,
okay.
is instruction, which we took care of with our instructional specialists.
Right.
That takes care
Okay,
of that.
just wanted to.
But yeah, that was where we felt was the best use for instruction. Obviously, you can spend more than that, but at least a minimum of the 20% had to be.
I got a question, that iView for the elementary school, remind me what that was again?
The iView is the software package that provides control of the HVAC units at the elementary school, just like we currently have at the middle high school. That's what that is.
So usually we can't get the money to buy anything, but now we got the money and we can't get anything.
Can't get anything here, that's correct. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
You know, perfect.
Mhm.
Perfect.
I'm sure you're having issues with work
Everybody.
stuff. Yeah, everybody is, yeah. It's amazing.
I'd rather have money.
As long as they don't take it away waiting on stuff to get here.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have district legislative delegate and alternate.
As we're aware, in June, we have the opportunity for a district legislative delegate to represent Lincoln County at the meeting in Savannah. And we also identify an alternate. I don't know if you received any notification from an anxious individual, but I did not.
Surprisingly, I did not either.
Shocked. So we would need someone to be voluntold who's going to Savannah.
And I'm gonna go ahead and speak out, I'm not gonna be in the state the whole month of June, so.
Well, it's on the
I can't go.
coast.
That's what my plans are. So I'll go next year. I went last year.
it's a big one.
I did, I volunteered to go. That's just as good.
I went a year
Good
before.
intention. Yeah, I know you did.
Kyle, would you like to do this?
When is it, June?
June 5, 6, 7, or 6, 7, 8.
You need to probably go down on Thursday evening and be there Friday and come back. I mean, it finishes up at lunch on Saturday.
Correct. You can take your break.
And they give you goodies too.
y'all jumping at it for joy, I can tell.
I got a stress reliever, she brought me back. You found it a positive event, didn't you?
It opens your eyes.
It does.
Just, I mean, it's a good thing just to see.
You can put me, I do need to check, but that's fine.
We have a volunteer.
I heard Jim's gonna be my alternate.
Yeah.
Would you like?
I'll be alternate.
Okay. All right.
You dodged another bullet, Mr. Heitman.
Yes, we do have to.
I make a motion that we nominate Kyle Reese as our delegate and Steve Barstow as our alternate.
I'll second.
Have a second by Mr. Heitman. All in favor? Yep. Unanimous.
As we get closer to that date, the state and GSBA will put out what their standards and what their proclamations are. We'll share that with the board. The board will give you information on how to vote at that meeting, what they feel is important, but you'll have it all in your hands. You won't be walking down there blind saying, how do I vote? You'll have all of that in your hand. It'll be real simple.
We have one policy for review, JCAB, interrogations and searches.
This policy is fine the way it is written, that it has not changed, so it will remain as written and just in review.
Okay. No questions on that policy? Superintendent's reports.
I have a couple of little things. We were notified late today. I don't know if everybody is aware, but Mr. Connor's son, who lives over in Columbus, Georgia, had come to our side of Georgia and was headed back to Milledgeville and got in an extremely severe accident and unfortunately passed away today. So we're asking for prayers for Mr. Connor's son. I believe he was in his late 20s, early 30s by the picture that I saw. I never got
37.
37, there you go. He looks young for his age, 37. I never met the young man, I didn't know. But he passed away today, so prayers for the family. Miss Arthur got very good news yesterday. Yesterday. Pre-K received a very positive review, and the review was complete and on-site, which was different from the prior year. And the reviewer was very complimentary of our entire pre-K program. We want to thank our pre-K teachers and paraprofessionals for doing a great job, but we also want to include, as she is known, pre-K Patty for doing an exceptional job with our pre-K kids. So, thank you very much. There is a whole lot of paperwork that goes with that, and I have heard that more than once.
I didn't hear that.
You're ignoring the paperwork?
It is a lot of paperwork.
Yes, it is, and thank you for doing it. We appreciate it. There was a notification today that the farmers market is going to take place with board approval, and we kind of talked about that at our last meeting. But they want to do it at the high school back here. On the first day they want to try it is April 16th from 9 to 11. And it is focusing on homegrown or homemade items. The idea is not to go to, say, Walmart, buy a bunch of jewelry and bring it out here and try and sell it. The idea is to sell either plants that you've grown at your house or we've grown in the greenhouse to sell to the community, or produce, or something that you have made at the house that is a sellable item is what the chamber is trying to promote. It also is promoting bringing the community together. But it is a farmer's market that they want to have on April 16th is the first one. They'll do it once a month, and it's from 9 to 11 at this point.
This is just parking lot.
This is parking lot, yes. This is parking lot. Now, Chase was encouraged by the idea and wants to be able to sell some of his wares, from flowers to plants, etc. Mr. Connor, prior to the accident, was interested in some of the things that they can produce in his program, and Miss Adkins was talking about selling cookies, cinnamon rolls, those that the kids produce. So they were trying to use this also for their benefit or their program benefit. So I think it can be a great thing, and it also gives us a chance to show the community what we have and what's available. So it gives us a chance to showcase our kids. And that's all I have.
Need a motion to go into executive session?
All right, question.
Sure.
How about the elementary school parking lot? How's it going?
Well, it's striped.
Yes, sir. They've got to come back and do some things.
Is it nice?
It is. It is nice. It has some, as he calls them, bird bath spots that they worked on, and then they did the lines and they painted the curb, but they didn't scrape all that extra stuff off when they did the curb, and so it's flaking off already. So they got to fix it. But he said he would make it good. So we're good.
I think Saturday.
They did it Saturday. Yes, sir.
He's supposed to come back next Saturday to finish, is what I'm told.
If the weather permits, yes,
Right.
sir.
Yeah.
Have you sent them all the money?
No.
Good.
No.
That lady sitting right over there. Until it's checked off and totally done, she didn't even raise a pin.
It's got to have a stamp on it, you know.
Well, that's good news.
It is good news. A lot of compliments
That's good.
from the parents. It's a good thing.
And we had a semi come in back there today to get that excavator, and he was doing it correctly and went just in the rock, because he would have destroyed the blacktop as big as that thing was.
Yeah, we had to chase the trash truck a couple of days. But he didn't get on it. He won't get on it anymore.
That's
I just
good.
say that. I don't think.
This gunner coming out.
It wasn't the pre-K patty person, probably. First time, yes. Second time, no.
We need a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Knight, second by Mr. Madison. Call our meeting back to order. Dr. Light has recommended, and I make a motion, that we hire Mitchell Matthews, the full-time history teacher for the 2022-23 school year, for high school history teacher for the 2022-23 school year.
Second.
Second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Unanimous. Dr. Light has recommended, I make a motion that we hire Ms. Janelle Jones as a substitute custodian and substitute food service worker for the 21-22 school year. Second by Mr. Heitman. All in favor? Unanimous. Dr. Light has recommended, I make a motion that we accept the retirement of Miss Mamie Parks, effective 5/24/2022. Have a second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Dr. Light has recommended, I make a motion that we hire Ms. Michelle Andrew as the lead cook for the 2022-23 school year.
Second.
Second by Ms. Barksdale. All in favor? Unanimous. Superintendent has recommended, I make a motion that we hire Ms. Stephanie Goldman as the principal for the elementary school for the 2022-23 school year. Second by Mr. Reese. All in favor? Unanimous. Superintendent has recommended, I make a motion that we offer Mr. Justin Hornsby a contract for the 2022-23 school year as course teacher. Second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Unanimous. Due to the increase of federal and state funds and the success of our food service department, Dr. Light has recommended, and I make a motion, that we give the food service managers a $1,000 stipend and all food service workers a $500 stipend.
Second.
A second by Mr. Hyman. All in favor? Unanimous. Anybody have anything else?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn by Mr. Hyman, and a second by Ms. Barstow. Thank y'all very much.